This is Mindy Yoshikawa here for Sunny Studio Stamps, sharing our latest tag topper dies. These dies were designed to create labels and tags and bookmarks and all sorts of things with ultimate flexibility to create any length that you would like in a variety of sizes. So this is our traditional tag set. It comes with 4 different sizes and a ribbon slot die so that you can add your ribbon as shown here in these examples. And I decorated the bottoms so you can customize them any way you'd like. And here is our sunny semicircles, and you can create gift card enclosures and pockets and all sorts of tags in different sizes. I've always wanted something like this, and I thought now that I have my own company, I can try to design it for myself, and hopefully you'll love it as much as I do. So they come in these small 3x4 sizes, and I'm storing them in my We Are Memory Keepers magnetic binder. They're kind of hard to come by, but I was going to share with you how I've written what the size is with my label maker of what they'll create, so when I go to trim my paper I always know the widths that they can create, and you can get these widths on our website when you purchase them. So here they are, and they come with little reinforcers in hearts. The crescent shape comes with hearts and a flower and a star reinforcer and a regular circle. And then it also comes with a standard circle to punch out your hole, or you can just use a hole punch if you have one. But I wanted to make sure to include it just in case. And this is our traditional tag, which includes the little tag slot. So you can mix and match these or use them together. And so I'm going to start by sharing some how I get them straight and cut them. I've found that there's a couple different ways you can do it. So this is our crescent tag, and I had the best results using either a ruler with my pencil or lining it up just with a ruler, as you'll see here in a minute. So I'm measuring to see how much distance there needs to be, and then I'm going to use the guide marks on my ruler, although hold on here, I forgot which what I just measured. So I'm going to just kind of put it on my ruler and guess, leaving enough room so it will cut out, and then drawing a faint line with my pencil, and then I'm going to use that faint line with some washi tape before I run this through my die cutting machine. So that's one way, but as you'll see here in a second, I also discovered I could skip using my pencil and just kind of hold my ruler in place and push my die right up next to it, so it kind of skips the step of having the erase a pencil line later. So I'm just trying to make sure that the edge of my die, you can't really see it here, but the edge of my die is just flush with the edge of that pencil line that I drew. So now I'm going to pull out my die cutting machine and run it through. Now I tried using these by applying them to a strip of paper like I had done previously with our fishtail banner dies, but I found that it was really hard to figure out exactly where these dies were going to cut on the paper, and I tried drawing little lines, as you can see on the back of my dies, but I found that this way was just so much easier. So I might as well just do several at once, so I'm showing you the other method of going directly, and I'm going to line it up with my grid ruler. I'm using the perpendicular lines to kind of line it up on both sides so I know it's parallel, and then I'm just going to push that die flush with the ruler edge so that it's straight. And this will really help if you wanted to make like a double-sided tag so that both sides are the same no matter which way you flip it. Sometimes a die has like an ugly edge on the back, and so I like making some of my tags double-sided, so I'll create one for the back and one from the front, which I'll show you here in a minute. So now I'm going to run a couple of these through at the same time. And so you could actually mass produce and make a bunch of tags in a sitting by lining up a bunch all at once. And if you create toppers, you won't even see your pencil line. You'll end up covering it, as I show here in a few minutes. So now is the fun part of trimming it, and because we've lined those up with the ruler, they're already going to be lined up nice and straight with the edge of the cardstock. So I'm just going to clean my edge here, and I'm going to try to trim them right where that edge of my trimmer, which I'm pointing out, cuts, so that I just cut off the very tippy top edge. And now, because they're all in very even increments, like 2 inches or 2 1/4, 2 1/2, depending on which die we're using, I can get exact measurements using the little grid on my trimmer. Now you can round the corners here, and as you'll see here in a second, I've designed the tags to be both depending on which size you're using. This bigger size is, has a 1/2 inch curve, rounded corner, but the smaller one has a 1/4 inch. And so I'm gonna trim off the tag a little bit because I feel like it's too long before I round my corners to match the top. So I'm gonna do the 1/4 inch corner. And as I'm looking at it, it still just feels a little too long to me. So I've decided to trim it one more time. But that's the beauty of these. You can create them as long or as short as you'd like to fit your project. I could have made this really long and turned it into a bookmark. So now I want to create a little topper, and this is the secret that I found to get it perfectly lined up in case you have a little user error or you get it off just by a little hair. So I kind of try to figure out how much I want it to go off my edge. Excuse my head there. And I'm going to just push the die up to the ruler again and run it through my die cutting machine. And now this is where my little trick comes in. So rather than just trim it down the edges, I'm going to take my scissors and just snip off to the edge, so that I'm not affecting how wide it is at this point. I'm going to make it the width of the exact tag in case I've managed to cut it a little narrower or wider with my original tag. So I'm just adding some adhesive. And then I'm going to flip it over and lay my tag down. Now, I didn't show it on the video, but you can duplicate this and create another one for the back so the tag looks as cute on the front as it does the back when it's hanging. Now I just take my scissors and trim off the excess, and that's how I get a perfectly matched topper to my tag. So now you can use the little tiny die to trim a hole if you don't have a hole punch, but I happen to have a 1/8 inch hole punch, so I use my Crop-A-Dial to punch a hole. So the little reinforcers and the hearts and stars and such, they all were designed with a to have that same 1/8 inch hole punch. So you can set an eyelet in them, or a brad, or whatever you want. So I decided to be really thrifty and use this teeny tiny little piece that I had left over and cut on the back side of that green piece of paper a little tiny reinforcer in red. Now, just a little word about the dies. They come all attached, and if I found that if you have like a button shank remover or pliers or something that, or wire cutters that can cut things apart, that really helps with these sets. So now I'm going to use my favorite Zig two-way glue pen. I have the chisel tip here. They also come with a much narrower tip. I don't know why, but I just have always loved the chisel tip. And so I'm going to apply it with a little dab of the liquid glue there. And now you have a cute tag ready to embellish. So now I'm going to share how you can use our Sunny semicircles to create tags or card panels. I just love the way cards look when they have a little framed panel to house your images in, and so these Sunny semicircles are perfect for creating a little crescent shape or arch-shaped panel. And so I decided to get out my T-square ruler to draw a faint pencil line. And I just always have wanted something that can be open-ended, where I don't have to like hang half of my circle die outside of my die cutting machine. And I just feel like these would have like infinite possibilities. I mean, you can create rainbows with them, you can do the panels, you can create with the tinier ones the little notches to hold a gift card. And so yeah, I just can't wait to keep sharing new ways to use them. So I secured it with my washi tape, and I realized it's just off by a hair, and I want it to be really straight. Now I'm going to run it through my die cutting one more time. And I feel like this is where the magic happens, when you get to trim off those edges and turn it into your shape. Another use that I really love for this is that I've always wanted to create little bullet point, I don't know how to describe it, but little labels for my cinnamons with that rounded edge, and it was always hard to try to figure out how to do it. So when you use the really small one in a long for the cinnamon strip, it would really be nice. So I'm just referring here to showing how I wanted it to be 3.5 inches wide. So I'm using that measurement on my paper trimmer there at 3.5 inches wide. And it's really quite exciting how it looks when it's done. So my secret would be to trim off as little as possible in the beginning. You can always trim more. If you trim too much, it might not look like a continuous smooth curve. And now I'm just trimming it off so that because I know a card is 4.25 inches wide, and this is 3.5, I needed it to be an extra 3/4 of an inch shorter than a 5.5 inch card panel. Anyway, so that would fit perfectly centered in my card panel, and so I'm just going to round the corners. And now this is ready to set my little scene on. I can ink it up with some distress ink, or I can leave it white. The possibilities are really endless, and I just love the way it looks. So here are some tags that I've already completed that I showed at the beginning of the video. These here are using the crescent tag toppers. And for the bottoms, I used our Sunny border stamps and coordinating dies to kind of add some embellishment along the bottom. Now for these, I was going to share the traditional tag toppers are a little more forgiving. You can, for this particular size of die I used, it could either be 2 inches wide or 2.25 inches wide, depending on how you want to cut it. I just wanted to show how I'm finding the center of the tag to help you center the die when you go to use it in your paper trimmer. So if you wanted this to be a 2-inch tag, you would center that on the 1-inch mark on your paper trimmer and trim off 1 inch on each side. I want this to be 1 1/4, or excuse me, 2 1/4 inches wide. So I'm trying to find the center, and I'm showing how on my particular paper trimmer, I'm going to end up kind of hovering it in between 2 marks, which just happens to also be exactly where that groove on my paper trimmer is. So I'm going to trim that off and flip it over. And then I'm going to line it up at the 2 1/4 inch mark. And now I want to shorten my tag to 4 inches. If you know you're going to make a bunch of these and what length you want them, you can, with pretty great accuracy, just trim your paper into strips initially. So, or, long, 4 1/4 inch strips or something to minimize waste. And so this big one is perfect for creating, like you could make a shaped card in the shape of a tag, or you can create bigger tags or really tiny ones. And then this little slot die is perfect for creating, it's sized perfectly for 3/8 inch ribbon, I believe, which is like the standard like American craft size ribbon and such. And so for these I added, used our fishtail banners 1 and 2 to decorate the edge. They were narrow enough that I was able to take the edge of that banner and flip it on its side and add a decorative edge along the bottom. So it's kind of like getting more life out of those dies. And for these I used the original fishtail banner dies, which I forgot to pull out. And if you're not familiar with these dies, they have little notches in them to help you center them. So here I'm just showing how I was able to line it up on my tag and find the center using these little notches on either side before running it through my trimmer. And all of these tags were created with extra images that I had colored. So each time we have a new release, I'll stamp out a ton of images and just color my heart out and cut them all out. Honestly, when I'm on the go or watching TV, or don't tell anyone, but even in church. So anyway, I'll end up having extras every once in a while. So these tags were the perfect way to use them up. And here is my tags that I created using the Sunny Semicircles. And these you can almost be precise enough, or you can be precise enough to make them double-sided. So I used 2 different sets of tags that I ended up adhering back to back to make them as cute on the front as they are on the back. So on the back I was able to add my to and from, and on the front a cute little set of images. And here are the little reinforcers that I'm sharing that I used from the Crescent tag toppers. So it's kind of fun to mix and match your shapes. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this look at our new tag topper dies and our Sunny Semicircles. Thanks so much for stopping by.